For a while, it felt like Maryland just couldn't find their next star quarterback. Whether it was Josh Jackson, Kasim Hill, or Ty Pigrome, they had some good players, but they weren't able to really take the next step until they got Talia Tungavaloa. He ended up starting a couple of years for Maryland and Mike Locksley, and while he didn't make the NFL, he was a good player for them. But it looks like Maryland has taken the next step, as I think they have finally found an elite quarterback who can truly help take them to the next level. Billy Edwards was good for his one season, but true freshman quarterback Malik Washington might just be the best quarterback Maryland football has seen in a long time. He's already in elite territory with how he played in week 1, but going back in time, this was always supposed to happen. It seemingly is a ball and glove fit with Maryland, as he is from the area, was a huge recruit, and always wanted to turn around the program. In today's video, I want to introduce you to Maryland's freshman phenom quarterback, Malik Washington. We're going to go back in time and talk about how he became a top 5 high school quarterback recruit, his expectations at Maryland, and just how good he was in week 1. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about Malik Washington. So in order to understand how Malik Washington got to this point, we first need to go back in time. Malik was raised in the neighborhood of Freetown, Maryland, which was a very historic community, and his relatives actually ran deep there as they helped with the community association, and there's even a park named after his uncle. All of this is to say that the Washington family was a big deal in the area. From a young age, he was told not to take anything for granted, as his life goal was to leave a legacy that lasted. His mom said, quote, "Malik knows who he is outside of football. He would tell people all the time, I'm just a regular teenage kid that happens to be really good at throwing a football." Washington was an excellent athlete growing up, and he always wanted to do something different, and that started with where he went to high school. Archbishop Spalding High School had never claimed a conference football championship before he arrived, and Malik wanted to change that, and he also went there for more reasons than football. It would allow him to keep playing the sport of basketball, which he also liked, and more importantly, the opportunity to build a program, as I said. Washington said, quote, "It was kind of like my college decision, a program that was on the rise and had some success, but was trying to get over the hump. When he was a freshman there, he ended up sitting behind a senior, and apparently he really embraced the role and tried to get better and better." His head coach admitted he put Washington in a tough spot, as during a semifinal game, he was thrown into the mix and ended up throwing a late interception. That game became a turning point, as Malik told the coaching staff afterwards, "I'm never losing to them again." But going back even further, he may not have even went to Archbishop Spalding if not for a water park birthday party 9 years earlier. His friend Max Moss, who ended up becoming a future wide receiver for him, ended up really getting to know Malik during that party, and they clicked, became close friends, and when Moss chose to go to Spalding, Washington ended up following him 2 years later. Throughout middle school, Washington would go watch Moss play, and combining all that, he was now going to be the face of Archbishop Spalding High School going into his sophomore year. Many wondered when Malik would be able to put in all that untapped potential. Even the most optimistic expectations for Malik had been passed, and Moss said, quote, "I can easily say without hesitation that Malik is the best quarterback I've ever played with, and I couldn't be more grateful for someone like that to throw me the ball." After a prolific sophomore season, Washington ended up gaining offers from Maryland, Penn State, and a whole offer sheet list. As a junior, he blew up even more, as he threw for 2,000 yards and 21 touchdowns, while also rushing for 6 more on the ground. He was also a star basketball player, as he ended up playing with big-time recruit Cam Whitmore, and Washington would earn all-league honors after his junior season, posting 17 double-doubles, while also helping them get to the title game. As I said, he was never going to play basketball though, as he was the star quarterback. Eventually, when it came time to pick a school, he chose the school everybody thought he would go to, Maryland. Ended up making waves, but he said, quote, "It was just the ability to be home and my relationship with Coach Locksley." He said it wasn't originally always that clear, as he also considered Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and UCF, but as the recruiting process would continue, he realized the best situation for him was close to home. He said, quote, "At first, it was really just wherever the best situation was for me, and that happened to be home, and that's where I felt the most comfortable." He also really appreciated Mike Locksley's straightforward attitude. He said that he always kept it real with him. He never gave him a sales pitch, and every time he had a conversation with Locksley, it was genuine and about where he saw him as a person and how he could fit with the program. He also loved Coach Locksley's track record with quarterbacks, and he wanted to be part of the group that made it to the next level. To make it even more obvious, his high school coach also played football for the Terrapins, but he was going to support him regardless. During his senior season, Malik Washington threw for 2,000 yards and 24 touchdowns, and he was really good. He ended up becoming an all-conference player in basketball and football, and he was named the Baltimore Sun's 2023 through 2024 Athlete of the Year. He also had a 3.7 GPA, and scouts absolutely loved his work ethic and the kind of physical potential he had. He'd have plenty of time to even get better, as during his time as a starter, he led Spalding to a 21-3 record, and he threw for 5,000 yards and 60 total touchdowns over his 2 seasons as a starting quarterback. But near the end of his high school career, the rumors began. Many thought that he might flip, but he said, quote, "I've always felt good about my commitment as soon as I made it. There was no danger of flipping." He said he'd be respectful to schools who wanted to contact him and that they could reach out, but he was going to tell them at the end of the day that he was good where he was at. One teammate said, quote, "Malik is one of the best athletes to come out of Spalding ever, and he walked around and made everyone feel important and seen. I truly believe his humility is what makes him stand out." According to 24/7 Sports, Washington was a 4-star recruit, the number 5 quarterback, and the 54th best player in the class of 2025. I cannot remember a time Maryland signed a quarterback this highly regarded, so how would he end up doing at College Park, and just how long would it take for him to make an impact? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so last year, Maryland ended up having a pretty good quarterback, as Billy Edwards Jr. was one of the top dual threat players in the Big Ten, and ultimately became so highly regarded that he entered the transfer portal and was given a lot of money to go to Wisconsin. But Maryland fans moved on pretty quickly, as they had a guy who everybody had been buzzing about for years. And because of his intangibles, many thought that Maryland had never seen a quarterback quite like Washington. At 6'5" and 231 pounds, he was also mobile and accurate, and had all those leadership tendencies that you want in a big-time player. Washington now became the face of a program that was searching for its first conference title in 22 years, and he said he wanted to become a legendary figure in Maryland history who could bring a championship to College Park. He said, quote, "Doing something like that will create a big splash. Now it's like we will remember this Maryland team forever. It comes with a position like the quarterback, as it's one of the most memorable people from almost every team, so I'll have my name in the lights for a while, no matter what happens the rest of my life, but my memory and my legacy will be here, and I'll be able to tell my kids and grandkids about it." Malik had extremely high expectations for himself, but he wasn't promised a starting job. He'd end up competing with former UCLA transfer Justin Martin. Martin was a 4-star out of Southern California who ended up spending a couple of years at UCLA before transferring to Maryland. He really played one game last year against Penn State, and he was sort of similar to Malik in the sense that they were both taller quarterbacks with a lot of potential, but honestly, Malik was getting a lot of buzz, and I thought he was the better option for them in the long term. He said he wanted to bring Maryland to the top of the Big Ten like Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon, and wanted to get the Terps to a Big Ten championship. Well, after battling it out in camp and earning the starting job, he gained the trust of his teammates and coaches, and this would pay off tremendously in their season opener. Maryland would open the season against Florida Atlantic, who has a bright young coach in Zach Kitley, who's developed a lot of quarterbacks and is known for putting up points. Honestly, I put Maryland on upset watch in week 1, but Malik Washington made sure that did not happen. In front of thousands of fans, he truly impressed. He became the first true freshman to start an opener since Perry Hills back in 2012, and he ended up throwing for 258 yards. He completed 27 of his 43 passing attempts and threw for 3 touchdown passes, all of which came in the second quarter. Washington and the offense were full speed ahead, as I said, he had 3 touchdown drives in the second quarter alone, and that was the most points Maryland scored in a quarter since 2019 against Howard. He also had 27 completions, and that was the most by a true freshman in any game in school history, and the most by a true freshman quarterback in a power conference since Jackson Dart did that for USC back in 2021, as he had 30. He also led the Terps to their 14th straight season-opening win over a non-conference opponent and pushed Maryland's nation-leading win streak over non-con opponents to 16 games. His efforts earned him Big Ten Freshman of the Week, and he said, quote, "It was great, but it's a week-by-week thing, so now it's on to the next week and it's over with. His 3 touchdown passes were also the most by a true freshman in the Big Ten since 2009, as Michigan's Tate Forcier did that, and the most by a true freshman in a power conference since 2018 when Trevor Lawrence did it for Clemson. The last stat is it was the most by a true freshman against an FBS school since Josh Rosen did it all the way back in 2015 with UCLA. Okay, so I threw a lot at you with that, but honestly, how good can Malik Washington be? Well, we won't find out for a couple more weeks, as they'll play against Northern Illinois and Towson these next 2 weekends, and both of those games should be wins. I expect Malik to put up decent stats in those matchups, but then they start their Big Ten play, and the first one will come on the road against Wisconsin. That'll be his first game not in College Park ever, and we'll find out a lot about him. They also play Washington, Nebraska, UCLA, Indiana, Rutgers, Illinois, Michigan, and Michigan State. Honestly, November is going to be a huge month for him, as 3 of those last 5 games come against teams that are currently ranked. I think Washington has everything it takes to be a star. He's the most fun quarterback I think Maryland's had in quite some time. And no offense, but I was never really that huge on Talia or Billy, as I thought they were just kind of average. Malik Washington has that it factor though, and it was really cool to see him sign with the Terps coming out of high school. But what do you guys think? If you're a Maryland fan, how good do you think Malik Washington will be? How do you think he'll finish out the season? And what quarterback or player should I do a profile on next for your team? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out one of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.